Hello, hello, lovely people. Welcome to Kubefirst Live. As always, super excited to be here. I am in a really nice Airbnb in Toronto. So for people in Toronto, I'm going to spoke at the DevOps Exchange meetup tonight. So hopefully, if you're listening right now, come say hi. I'm going to talk about GitOps. So, we stay in like the same kind of topics that we do in the live stream. So with that said, my name is Frederick Harper. I'm a developer advocate at Kubefirst, and I'm not alone today as usual. There is someone that you know with me, but even before giving the mic to John, let me introduce the topic and let Maria introduce herself. So we're going to talk about monitoring and acting on your cluster with a project that is dear to us, that is part of the Cube Shop family, BotKube. And to do that, we have the expert when it comes to BotKube. So Maria, if you want to introduce yourself to the people listening to us.
Hello, everybody. So nice to see you guys. Well, in spirit. My name is Maria, and I'm the developer advocate at BotKube. I'm so excited to talk all about BotKube with you guys. I'm also in a nice Airbnb, but I'm in Toulouse instead of Toronto.
Yeah, okay, stop bragging. I have nothing against Toronto, but Toulouse sounds a little bit better. Sorry, my Canadian friend. I'm Canadian too, so I have the right to say that. And with that said, who's the third person with us? Like that name rings a bell. Who's that, John?
Let it be me. Let it be me. So, hello everybody. John Dietz, one of the co-founders at Kubefirst. And Maria, happy to have you join us today to check out some BotKube on the Kubefirst platform.
I'm excited to be here.
So we have a full agenda today. So let's get started. And I'm giving the mic to Maria on that one. So let's go, Maria. It's you. It's your show now.
Okay. So hello, everybody. So let's first get everybody on the same page. So what is BotKube and why do we care? And obviously I have the image of the Pope lifting up BotKube because I think BotKube is the next generation of ChatOps and it deserves that praise. So next slide, please. All right. So let's just start with ChatOps in general. So why ChatOps? So ChatOps allows you to monitor and troubleshoot your events all on the same platform. So think about Slack, Microsoft Teams, Discord, and Mattermost, and you're able to collaborate with your team in a streamlined troubleshooting process. So instead of switching screens, sending people screenshots, texting people, oh my gosh, my pod's down, you can have it all in one place in your messaging channel. And you're able to give developers self-service access. So they don't have to be tied to the terminal to be able to work with their clusters. And you're able to respond to alerts and do it from the go. So if you have access to Slack or Teams or Discord, that means you have it connected to your phone. So you're able to access Kubernetes right from your phone, which I think is super powerful. All right, next slide, please. So just a quick overview. So as I mentioned before, we're working with all of the major messaging platforms. You can monitor your Kubernetes events via Kubernetes Source and Prometheus. And you can control Kubernetes with kubectl and Helm. I know some people call it kubectl, but today we're going to be using CTL. You can also automate. Fine, cuddle. It's not my show.
That's good. I say kubectl and John always say kubectl, and that's just like my ear wants to explode when I heard that. It sounds weird to me, so like it's the way to go, Maria. You're good to go.
Okay. All right, so kubectl, and then you can also automate event responses with action. So a lot of times you get similar errors and you do the same process over and over again. So with BotKube, you're able to automate that so you can just reduce that step and just be able to continue with the troubleshooting process. And we now have a plugin system which allows you to basically connect BotKube to any source or executor via the system. So for example, we have our out-of-the-box Prometheus, Helm, Kubernetes, kubectl. But if you want, you can add on additional plugins like adding a GitHub issue reporter. One of our devs made a kept-in source. So we're really open to any feedback or any plugins you want to add to the BotKube universe. And then finally, I think one of my favorite parts is the auditing events system that you can do in our BotKube hosted web app. So let's say an error goes wrong when I'm running commands, which is most likely, you can see who ran the last command before the error and be able to see what's going on in the cluster from anywhere. All right, next slide, please. So just the integration, because it's ChatOps, you can work with easily configure with Slack, Microsoft Teams, or Mattermost, and then you can install BotKube into your cluster with Helm. Or you can, there are like 3 main ways to install BotKube. You can use the web-hosted app, which we'll be showing today, Helm set parameters, or through custom YAML configuration. So I'm not a YAML girl yet, so I won't be able to show you that, but maybe in the next demo, I'll be able to show you that.
It may take time. It depends on your background. It took me forever to actually it took me forever to accept YAML, that it was a thing, that it existed. And it took me a little more time to get used to it and not hate it. And now I would say I kind of like it, which is weird to me. Saying it feels weird to me.
Yeah, it's a lot to get used to, but I think that's the power of BotKube. You're able to have access to Kubernetes without being an expert. I think Kubernetes can be really intimidating for beginners. And when I say beginners, I mean people from all backgrounds. So you could be a developer for the last 30 years, but Kubernetes is new to you. So it gives you that same power to work in a system, in a team, without having that really high barrier to entry. All right, next slide, please.
It's part of why I feel like BotKube fit within the Kubefirst story, because this is also what we're trying to do, trying to remove the complexity of starting to use Kubernetes, which is totally frightening at the beginning, because no matter, as you said, no matter the experience you have, it's a complicated system and platform that helps you to make your life easier at some point. But then getting started, get some what's the expression in English, elbow grease or something like that.
That's
yeah,
right.
Of course. Right. A lot of elbow grease, tears, elbow grease, moral support, all those things. But with BotKube, it's a little bit easier. So one of our features is monitoring. So you can, like I said before, you can use the Kubernetes source or Prometheus to monitor, or add in Keptn if you like, or any other sources. You can filter events based on particular criteria. So if you only want to see events from a particular namespace, or if you only want to see when pods are created or when there are particular errors, you can filter it so you're not just getting, a huge slog of notifications, because, clusters are very noisy. So being able to filter it is great. You can also route events to the appropriate team channel. So you can have a front-end channel where the front-end team only sees a particular amount of events, but then a platform channel where the platform team sees everything. And then you can also create channels for incident responses and rare errors, and that's why I like that auditing system as well. So you can see everything that goes on in that channel and be able to work with people on different errors. All right, next slide, please. All right, and then one thing I love about BotKube is that it's bidirectional. So a lot of monitoring platforms, you kind of just receive information, but you can't really do anything with it. So with BotKube, you can actually run those commands natively in Slack or whatever messaging platform you're using. And I get a lot of questions like, oh, can I do a delete pods? And the answer is no. So out of the box, it's read only by default, and you can whitelist commands. So going back to that RBAC step, you can have certain teams. So having your DevOps team have all the keys to the kingdom, and they're able to run those types of, dangerous commands, but then have your front end team or your dev team only have read only access, so they can only receive alerts and do very basic commands that won't, delete prod.
So BotKube is it's thread proof.
Yes.
Good for me. I'm not going to destroy things that I should not.
Yes. It's honestly very hard to break out of the box. And trust me, I break stuff too. So I really like that RBAC system. All right, next slide, please. So then automation, here is an example of one of the automations that comes out of the box. So you can do a show log on errors. So every time you get an error, you can just get logs. So you're not having to do that command over and over again. So it just comes in naturally. And there are other automations you can add. You can do a describe. You can do get pods, get nodes for particular events that received. So I really like how it's customizable to whatever you or your team needs. and you can kind of use BotKube as little or as much as you'd like. So the automations part really makes it personalized. Next slide, please. And then going back to the power of Kubernetes in your hands. So here's an example of what BotKube would look like on a mobile app. So you don't even have to type. Like you could just use the interactivity feature and build a get pods function or build a describe function, and you can be able to use the drop arrows to be able to select your resource and your namespace and basically have all that power for those commands in your pocket. So I can do it from a concert. I can do it from Starbucks and still be a productive employee. So I love that. I love that power that you have. All right, next slide. So I'll be showing you a quick demo on how to get started with BotKube using the web app. So let me share my screen.
So my days as a Maria slide pusher is done now. Move to demo.
Thank you, Fred.
That was my pleasure. That was a hard task, but I think I did a good job.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. All right. So here we are. Let me go back one step. All right. So here I am in my BotKube dashboard. I'll be using the free version, but we also have BotKube Team, which you can have a free trial for adding additional instances. So you can get that multi-cluster support. So I'm just going to start with BotKube as the instance name. I'm going to choose Slack because I'm a Slack girl. Discord kind of scares me a little bit. So we won't be using that today. And here you can get the instructions on where to go. So to get your bot token and your app token, you're going to go to your Slack app console, and you can get more step-by-step instructions in the docs. Believe me, everything you need is in the docs. So I'm going to put in my Slack name. I'm going to put BotKube. I'm going to do my app token, which I already pre-saved. And copy and paste it here. Do my bot token. I guess my cyber hackers don't get me.
Everybody's seeing the token.
I know.
Now.
I know. Don't hack me. You'll just see lots of like Beyonce fan cams. There's nothing interesting in there. So I'm going to use a private channel, a general channel, and a random channel. Those are just kind of my go-tos, but you can add as many or as little channels as you want. You just need to have at least one. So next we're going to add Helm, kubectl, and Kubernetes. So click next. Then we're going to hit create. So this is the only time you're going to really need to be in your terminal. So I already have BotKube in my Helm chart, so I'm just going to skip this first step and hit Helm repo update BotKube. All right. And then the next, we're going to install the Helm chart right here. So while this installs, that's one thing I like with the dashboard. It'll show you each step of the way. So it's in the creation process. So let me check on Slack. I made a demo Slack channel. And all right, BotKube is so good to go. BotKube is good to go. So that's how easy it is to install BotKube. And I think that's crazy.
Also, that Slack is so clean. Like you have like 6 workspace. Like mine feel like, the time where you were subscribing to all those newsletters. I have like all those workspace that I like. There's only 4 that I go all the time, and the rest I'm just like, I'm a member, just in case.
Yep. And then let me just show you. It's already working in action, so I can just do a @BotKube kubectl. And then I can select my command. I can just build it out. I don't even have to type. And you can run your command. See, we got something running. All right, so let me hand it over to John to show you how BotKube will work with Kubefirst.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Maria. And I can absolutely vouch for the installation process. It was super easy. I just recently spun up a Kubefirst K3D cluster on my local host with a GitHub Git provider, and walk through the steps that Maria just showed us. And if our Slack community users want to hop in the Kubefirst Slack community, there's a new public channel in there called BotKube-demo. And if you hop into BotKube-demo right now, you'll be able to see live what happens when you have BotKube on the Kubefirst platform. So I did a little bit of experimentation. There's some old history in there, but I have a line in the sand right now on this channel where we say everything has been set back to default settings, no tricks up my sleeve. Now let's kind of go through the experience of having BotKube on K3D. So the first thing that I want to call out is that BotKube is just like in Kubernetes, and it's just watching stuff. And if events happen in the Kubernetes cluster that are triggered by certain pre-configured nice convenience features, then you're going to be able to see those events happening, and they'll give feedback to the BotKube user, to the platform user, about what it's seeing. And you can pretty easily just like, if you're seeing it and you're like, yeah, I know about that, that's not a big deal, you can set up filters. But what's eye-opening is the amount of stuff that you see that you weren't really aware was going on just by having BotKube monitoring and giving you information in a nice convenient Slack flow, a feed of just what are all the things that are going on in your Kubernetes cluster. So this is a Kubefirst install. Obviously, you guys that are repeat watchers are probably already familiar with our console application. When you do a Kubefirst install from the terminal, you end up with this screen here that shows you how to get into your new Kubefirst. And because this is a local one, everything's on this fake kubefirst.dev localhost domain. And just to sort of highlight some things, I was going to hop in to the Metaphor application first. This is our sample application that sort of demonstrates how to do container builds and Helm chart publishes and GitOps pipeline delivery patterns that promote an application version from dev to stage to prod. So let's go ahead and just kick off a job. I'm going to go directly to the main branch of the README file, add a new line there, and just commit it. Hey, Fred, if you wouldn't mind closing your eyes for a quick second. I hate it when I get caught doing this directly.
I was going to say something, or I was expecting you to say something, that I was going to say something about it. Don't, please, people listening to us, don't do this at home.
Stop committing directly to main. It's not appropriate. But on live streams, I argue that it is a valuable savings of 30 to 40 seconds that time that our viewers will never get back.
I have a secret to share. When I gave talk, especially when they're like it's a 20 to 25 minutes talk, I do it directly like that within main. So now that's out. There's no turning back. I said it. I do it myself sometimes.
The cat is out of the bag.
Yeah, but it doesn't prevent me to tell you not to do this.
This is very true. So
as I say, not as I do.
That's
exactly.
So we have some Metaphor CI kicking off now, and let's hop in a handful of these applications and just get set up for what we're going to be looking at. So we're currently doing a publish and a deployment of the Metaphor application. We're going to deliver a new version to the dev stage prod environments. And if I bring up Metaphor development, here we can see that it's just sitting there, and back in the job's executing, and this is all running off of my local host. And here we can see that we're already starting to get notifications of things that are going on. Now, this is nothing that I've proactively set up in BotKube. BotKube is just telling me things that I should know about, which is certainly handy, particularly when you don't have direct communication lines. If you're not on the team that is the developer team in a full stack capacity, like if you're on a platform team and separate from your team, you have all these different development teams and they're all contributing microservices to your Kubernetes ecosystem. You don't know what they're doing. You want to know what they're doing, and you don't. And so just getting some default visibility about some best practice things that BotKube's keeping an eye on for you, already very available. What this one's telling us here is that there's this Canico container that's been identified as a pod running in the Argo namespace. But that Canico container image that we're leveraging has a tag of latest, and BotKube is very kindly telling us, hey, maybe don't use the latest tag in Kubernetes. Now, that's sage advice. That's very good advice. However, there are circumstances where maybe you want to use the latest tag. And this is one of those particular nuanced circumstances where latest is good. The Canico container that we're using is a container that we use to build and publish our container to our container registry. There's some sensitive elements about building that container and the publish process. It needs access to the registry that it's going to be publishing to. It has a very sensitive secret to us. So we want to do two things. We want to keep that blast radius of that container as small as possible. And we always want to make sure that it's well patched for vulnerabilities. So in that circumstance of a tiny little CI container that does a container publish, that's one of those examples where a latest tag, and frankly, I had forgotten we had decided to do that. And it was eye-opening to see BotKube give me that metadata that, hey, there's a latest tag in your Kubernetes cluster. I was like, no way. Why would that? Of course, it was the one that we set to latest for the CI ecosystem. So that's all pretty cool. You can see as I'm kind of rambling here, additional details are coming in as the Argo workflows CI continues to execute. And you can see with these pods that are being created. Let's take a look at that real quick, just in Argo workflows. So each one of these jobs that executes, when it runs a job, it runs the micro tasks that it has to execute in these tiny little containers so that we can keep the access to the secrets that are part of our CI to their bare minimum. And each job just has a tiny little job to do. And the publish job is where we were doing the, this is actually a development deployment. If we look at the publish one that we were looking at, this is where the Canico image comes into play after we check out and get the initial version. No, sorry, right here where we publish the container. This
is it big enough? Should we?
Good question.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah.
So here you can see, like, this is the publish job that was being called out. And if we look at the containers, you can see, indeed, we are using the latest tag of the Canico project executor container image. So great feedback. I'll end up filtering that out because I don't need to be reminded of that every time. But the filters are super easy as well. And if we just kind of watch this thing go out the door, here we can see that if I refresh, yeah, the new pod for development a few seconds ago just went out the door, and now we have a new version of Metaphor in development. Fantastic. And we got some feedback from BotKube about some things that it identified happening in the cluster that it wanted to call our attention to. So very valuable to a platform engineering team, particularly if you have development teams that are sort of outside of your sphere of influence and you want to be notified about stuff that they're doing because they don't come and check in with you every single task that they do. Certainly having a watchdog like that in your clusters has a ton of value to platform teams. Now, beyond that, one of the things that Maria was telling us about in her preview of what BotKube does is the ability to add these automations. And as soon as I heard that, my ears perked up a little bit, and I was like, well, yeah, tell me a little bit about these automations that you have, Maria. And basically, like, there's events that are going on in Kubernetes all the time. And when an event happens, BotKube is providing this neat mechanism in a very easy, frictionless way to be able to take that event metadata and build additional context around that event and provide that context to you in your ChatOps tool of choice. In our case, we love using Slack as well. We've been Slack fans forever, but it also works in the other platforms as well. But if we take a look at that real quick, and Maria, if you can kind of watch over my shoulder and make sure I'm not doing any false moves. There was this add automation button that's available in the cloud user interface when you sign up and create an account and set up your first Kubernetes cluster. And if you guys will forgive me, I'm going to cheat and grab this simple little command.
That's okay. We're not going to pair code tonight. That's not happening tonight.
Let's not. I forget a semicolon every time. And so we'll call this like, what should we call this? Show Kubernetes describe on air.
Or you can just say describe on air just to make it easier for yourself. You don't need to do Kubernetes. You can make it as short or as long as possible.
Sweet. And for a source, I only have the one source because I set things up pretty default. And for the trigger executor, I'm going to select kubectl and just hit add here. When I hit add, I'm going to slide down here and not forget to hit this update button, which I've done like 3 times now. So everybody at home, don't forget to click that update button.
But you mean you were selecting kubectl, right? Is it what you meant?
No,
I said something weird like kubectl.
Yeah, so if we can just kind of break this down for a second, there's a Kubernetes journey, and we all start out thinking that it's kubectl, maybe it's kubecontrol, maybe it's kubectl. You don't have that love for Kubernetes in your heart that only comes by being a practitioner for years and years and years. And after all these years of just falling in love with this technology, you just need to give it a hug. You need to cuddle it. You do. Kubectl might be one of the greatest terms that has ever existed in the cloud technology space. I am a kubectl lover. I am. I'm not gonna lie. So anyway, jokes aside, we hit the update button over here. Let's go back over to BotKube channel and see what's going on. So we have, here, this was interesting to my eye the first time I saw this. So I made a configuration change in BotKube's cloud. And when I make that change and I hit update, it's, I don't know if it's pull or push, but one way or another, the agent that's running in the BotKube agent running in my cluster recognizes that it has configuration updates that are needed from the source in the cloud, and then it automatically restarts itself, tells you that it's restarting itself in your Slack channel. And then when it comes back up and to life, it says, hey, my watch begins for this cluster that I'm monitoring, back on guard. And that BotKube's there and watching everything, that all the wiring is set up correctly. So I found some value in that. But here, let's see. Yes, this is already. Now, I haven't done anything. I have a K3D cluster. It has this whole platform of HashiCorp Vault, Argo Workflows, Argo CD. It has sample applications. It has Atlantis so that it can run Terraform plans. It has all this stuff going on in it all the time. And it idles. And while it's idling, it's working too. We have to be restarting ngrox, and we have to be just binding things together. And whenever anything expires, it has to auto rotate and redistribute those secrets into places, and things are watching those secrets and automatically restarting themselves. And like the system is alive and BotKube's in there, and it's just telling us stuff that's happening when we add that automation. So you can see right here, by automation describe on error. The reason that we're getting this message is because some event happened in Kubernetes where an error occurred, and BotKube caught the event that an error had been encountered, and then it Fred, that's good. It caught the event, and then it automatically runs a kubectl describe on the pod that had the erroneous event occur, so that it can not just tell you that an error happened and then the pod's gone and you have to do your homework retroactively to try and figure out what happened, but it gives you that deep context of the kubectl describe right there at the time of the error, what's going on in this pod when this event occurred. And because it's nice and friendly in Slack, it's really easy to see the timeline of when that occurred. And obviously at this point, if this was a channel that was for your platform engineering team, we could see that this event happened and all start communicating with each other about the things that are going on.
And John, do you want to try filtering that output too? You're able to.
Yeah, let's do.
I think you were asking John to turn off the sound.
Definitely tell me to turn off the sound on my phone. I'm not sure who's So let's
Yale police coming for you. They're knocking at your door.
That's right. All right, Maria. So before we filter this out, because there is sort of some neat value here, like this happened because a Metaphor production pod just went unhealthy. It went unhealthy because the Kubernetes master, when it was sending a health check to the pod, the health check came back with connection reset. It's just a networking blip. It can happen particularly in a local K3D cluster. And it's not the end of the world. Kubernetes is made so that your pods are allowed to be fault tolerant. So in this case, it was unhealthy, and then very shortly thereafter, it was healthy. But as a platform engineer, this information is information that unless I'm proactively looking at this for some reason, there's no user experience issue. But there is an issue. It sometimes the Kubernetes master is unable to run a health check against a node. And as a platform engineer, I don't necessarily need to do anything about it, but I want to know about everything like that that's going on in my cluster. So again, just immediate value coming out of that just by being able to see the types of events that are going on, and not just that an error happened, but also that there's all this context about what's going on when an error occurs. So that was super cool to me. And then, I guess, just to kind of show a real example in real time of something that could go wrong, that's not just the system having blips of network issues or whatever. But like, let's say we have this GitOps repository, and this GitOps repository is the way that we deliver 100% of all the applications to the cluster. So if we go to the registry and look at that development environment Metaphor instance, and look at the values of the development Metaphor, it's pretty easy. We have when we publish a Helm chart, obviously we publish the Helm chart with like a domain of like example.com. And it's the instance's job to set the values for that particular instance. So that's why you'll see in this values YAML, we have some development values for our development hosts, details like that, where we're going to get our secrets from and whatever. Up here, there's this image repository, which is where the container was stored so that the chart knows how to pull that image back out. Now, let's say that for whatever reason, one of your development team users was creating a new instance of this metaphor application that you have, but they messed something up. They fat fingered the repo name of where the image is going to be stored. So we'll say bad repo. And they commit this thing, just pretend that's a typo for a second. So they commit this thing to the main branch. Somehow it gets past your approval process. It's not because you're too busy, I'm sure about that. And over in Argo CD here, I'm going to hit refresh so that I can expedite this 3-minute poll that happens. But what you're going to see is it's going to wake up and say, hey, something about the desired state changed. I have to deliver this, but it cannot. And it cannot because it can't pull the image from a repository that doesn't exist. Now, this is a common error, particularly when you're setting up a new application from scratch. It's really easy to get some of these details a little bit off. Like, you think that it includes the application name, but it actually doesn't, or it needs a trailing slash or whatever the problem is. And when you have it incorrect, you get into this erroneous state. Now, if you're a developer on your development team that's not very familiar with Kubernetes, but they know enough to be able to onboard in a self-service way their application to your GitOps infrastructure, they might have created this and they don't have the visual awareness to know to look in Argo CD for this red heart here in their new metaphor development application. But they can certainly be subscribed to a channel in your Slack where they can see things that are going wrong. In this particular example, again, because of this automation describe on air, you can see that we have that it's failed to pull the image. It's because it's not found, and the repo that it's trying to pull is this image from this metaphor bad repo repository that doesn't exist. So again, you get that deep K describe or kubectl describe context around the error that's occurring, that's enlightening to new Kubernetes users that maybe they're your development team. As a cloud engineer or as a platform team engineer, I may not even know, because I've built a self-service platform, I may not even know that they're onboarding an application, but I can see this error show up in my Slack and see, they must be trying to onboard now. And I can see that error and I can guide the developer in a nice conversational way, like, hey, check your repo name. And, just like that, we're having a conversation about an error that's happening in real time. I didn't know that they were onboarding the app right now, but now I do, and I can see, and we can start to talk about the problems, and we can help them onboard easier, which is the point of being part of a platform engineering team. You want to build those nice self-service models where your developers can be engaging with your platform, but you as a platform engineer need observability into the stuff they're doing, and they can use the additional guidance that BotKube is giving automatically, or in this case that we've set up through these automations to be able to provide the developer users with the most information that they can, so that they can stay unblocked and not necessarily have to reach out to you and open a new ticket and, really deeply engage with the platform team again. You kind of are enabling them to be that self-service entity that the development teams want to be. So that was all super cool. And I thought that it was really neat to just kind of have BotKube in the cluster, feeding information to the Slack. Obviously, some of it, like that latest Kaneko image, no big deal. We can add a filter and get rid of that one. But the next time a latest tag shows up, you'll know about it. You'll be able to have that conversation with the developer. You'll be able to help them along and help guide them on the best practices of application delivery in Kubernetes. Now, Maria, one of the things that really struck me as interesting while it was all just kind of unfolding in my mind, I have this ChatOps tool. I've never worked with a ChatOps tool in a Kubernetes environment. And all of the stuff that I've been showing here is all monitoring based. It's like that we set up some stuff and it's in the cloud and it's in the cluster, and then we just use Kubernetes, and we get observability information out of just having BotKube in there. But it's actually more valuable than that to people like me, people on platform teams, people who are responsible, people that have a pager in their pocket, right? I used to be a youth soccer coach, and for all those many years, I was always regularly at a place that was inconvenient to have a laptop nearby, but your role as an SRE, your role as a cloud engineer requires you to keep people unblocked and to be able to help out when issues occur. And you never know when the issue is going to occur. And having BotKube built into Slack means that when my pager goes off because Vault is suddenly unavailable, and I don't have my laptop because I'm at my kid's soccer game or whatever it might be, like, I can't express how neat it is to be able to run kubectl commands from Slack from my phone. Like, as an example, let's say I got a call, hey, Deets, we got a big problem. Nobody can access Vault. Nobody knows why. And nobody's around. It's got to be you. Sorry about your game. Tell the assistant coach he's coaching the rest of the game, right? So I can hop in here and just at BotKube and say exactly what I would want to do if I was at my laptop, but I can do it from my mobile device. And I can just say, hey, kubectl get nodes. Like, what is, oops, if I could type, at BotKube.
Get nods.
Yeah, get nodes. And just like that, instantly I'm at sideline of my soccer game, and I can see that all my nodes are healthy. So that's good news. That means whatever I was worried about with that idea, not an issue. Now let's K or at BotKube, kubectl get pods -a. And by getting all pods across all namespaces in my cluster, just like that, you're able to see, if I close this one here, just like that, you're able to see all of the pods that have been running, all the automation that's been happening. If any of this was in an error state, it would allow you to dive in deeper. And you probably saw that there was a reply on this message. So let's click that. And what this is doing, it's identified automatically that there's a lot of results coming back from the latest command that you executed. And kindly, it's like, hey, you want to whittle that down? Which, if you're on your phone on the sideline of a game, is exactly what I would have wanted. So I could, and the ease of using this thing is so nice. You can just say, yeah, just Vault. Like, you don't have to know the syntax of regular expressions or anything like that. Just like, boom, show me some Vault, and it shows you that last command that you executed, but filtered down so that anything that matches on the word Vault, whether it be because of the namespace or because of the pod or because of whatever it is, you get that same feedback whittled down to exactly what it was that you were looking at. So from that standpoint, just to kind of really bring this detail home, I'll hop in here on my phone, and I can do the exact same thing. Hop into BotKube demo, replies, and I can say, instead of Vault, if I was interested in, say, I don't know, ngrok for some reason, I could hit done, and just like that, I'm getting feedback on my phone. You can see what the feedback was right there with ngrok. And so, like, as somebody that's just in the role of trying to keep people unblocked and keep the system up and running and be able to guide your development team on what's going wrong and how to get the issues resolved, you can not only get like high level pod information, you can get your logs from a particular pod that was of concern. So if I wanted to say, kubectl get, or actually, let me not do that in the thread. Let me do it in here. So if it did at BotKube, and maybe because of reasons, I don't even want to type my own command. I can't remember exactly what it was. Like Maria was showing us before in the demo slides, you've got this nice help. You can interact with BotKube in a very interactive way and have it build your commands for you and stuff like that. So all in all, very impressed with what the BotKube team put together, the amount of observability that it gives you, and particularly selfishly because of my lifestyle, it's also super valuable to be able to use proactively in inconvenient debugging circumstances. And that's just me talking selfishly. I can also describe how if I was a developer that was new to Kubernetes, if I'm on that other team, right? They may not know Kubernetes very well yet. If you're in the middle of a cloud native adoption, it's reasonable that your developers won't know Kubernetes very well yet. And so to be able to provide them with a nice language, a nice contract of how to communicate with your cluster without giving them access to your cluster is incredibly valuable to me. And it's incredibly valuable to my development team to be able to have that guiding contract of how to communicate with my clusters. So I thought that was really cool. But what I got thinking was, well, I don't know if ChatOps is conducting my commands, then it's not me conducting the commands anymore. It's this control plane that's running in my cluster. So from an observability standpoint, is that okay? Was like my knee-jerk thought. So I asked Maria about that, and she described to me about an audit log. Maria, if you could sort of help me along. It's back in the dashboard.
So you're going to scroll up. And just,
yes.
Can you refresh before you do that? You're just going to make sure everything's up to date. All right. And then you're going to hit audit logs right next to aliases. And then you can see everything for the last. So for the free version, you can see everything for the last 4 hours. But if you get BotKube team, you can see everything, your entire history.
Super cool.
Yeah. So John, you got it exactly right. My only critique is that nobody uses pagers.
Nobody uses pagers. How old am I exactly? I know.
I was going to say, that was on the tip of my tongue for all the time you were talking about it, and I'm like, most people won't even understand your example of like being a pager, like, kids. So that was a communication device we had before cell phone, where you could like ping someone on a specific number and give them their number, and they had to find a payphone somewhere or at their house, like use a landline to call you back to talk to you in person, which for me, it's mind-blowing right now when you think about it. I don't want to talk to John. I'm just texting him, like, especially if it's the evening and the weekend. Like, don't call me, John. Then text. But yeah, pager was a thing. Actually, I wonder, like, should PagerDuty change their name at some point?
I know. What would it be? Cell phone duty? What are they going to do?
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, Slack duty now, because we have for BotKube duty.
I guess that's what it is. But
sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, let me just let him cook.
It was a great aside for sure. So and you can see here, like, here's my mistyped kubectl get nods, and then just a couple seconds later, I'm typing it correctly with kubectl get nodes. You don't have to use too much imagination to envision what this would look like if you had all kinds of different developers that were executing commands. Probably particularly valuable to you if you want to enable some of those read-write features instead of just having BotKube be a read-only entity like we're showing you here today. So, if you wanted to see who deleted that deployment, or who got rid of your database in Vault, or whatever it is that you decide to allow your engineering team to do, that audit log will be available. And there was a neat parallel about this audit log experience and this control plane of interacting with Kubernetes through BotKube serving as that control plane, where it felt really similar to the story that we have with Terraform and Atlantis on the Kubefirst platform. Like with Terraform and Atlantis, Terraform, it's a command line tool, just like kubectl is a command line tool, and people are working in shops and using Terraform manually on their laptop, and nobody can see what they're doing. Similarly, with this BotKube implementation, like if you just have your developers executing commands in kubectl, you don't get to see what they're doing. You don't get to see what their experience is. But you do, by enabling them to interact with your clusters using BotKube, they get that, you get that visibility into what it is that they are trying to get to. And certainly if there's read-write capabilities and you needed to inspect what happened during some event, you'd be able to narrow down exactly what events happened. So I thought that was really cool. I think interacting with your Kubernetes cluster through Slack was eye-opening for me. So really that's all I wanted to show of BotKube on the Kubefirst platform. Maria, if I left any holes in my swing that you wanted to fill, I'd be happy to show anything else that you wanted to show. But that was kind of my initial experience with BotKube on the Kubefirst platform. I thought was really exceptional. So
John did a good job.
Yes, he did.
I did.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, you got BotKube at its core. Like I said, you can use BotKube as little or as much as you'd like. So if we had all the time in the world, I can deep dive into aliases or, plugin development and how easy it is to get started with your own plugin, but we don't. So you can always hit me up on BotKube Slack. We're going to be coming out with more content about that in the future. But yeah, just showing everybody how easy it is to kind of get everybody on the same page, because the Kubernetes space, like John was saying, like there's early cloud adopters and there are people who've been, from Kubernetes from the day one. So I think BotKube kind of levels the playing field and just gives everybody access, which I think is super important.
That is pretty cool. Like I'm saying this to the team quite often, but like I'm a CLI guy, so everything that is not like done in my terminal, I'm usually not like the best fan of those tools, and I just like BotKube because also I know you're not supporting only Slack, but I'm also a Slack person. I mean, I spend way too much time on Slack work-wise, so it's nice to be able to do that within Slack. And the screen you still have, John, that you show, that kind of like summary or cheat sheet about like what you can do with BotKube is pretty cool too, because kubectl give you the opportunity to do a lot of things. Like it's quite powerful CLI, but at the same time, it can be a little bit complicated to like learn the syntax and the flags and like everything you need to get the information you need. So having BotKube, having BotKube to do that. So is it working? No, you need sudo or whatever. Like you need root access.
I do need sudo.
I mean, we can always add in another plugin of BotKube HR tickets if we need to, solve any team problems.
The thing there, the fun thing of like doing the live stream with John is that he knows what he's talking about, because I keep interrupting him. I'm being intrusive with my sounds and like emoji and text, and this guy just keep going. But the bad thing with doing live stream with John is that we're trying to make those shorter, and we were such on a good path once you stop talking, Maria, and we gave the mic to John, and now we are close to an hour. The good thing, though, is that I only have like 30 minutes to say everything else I need to say. No, that's not true. We're nearly done. It's the end. So we talk about BotKube. I don't know, Maria, if you have one last word about your wonderful technology that people can use. Any last word about it?
Well, we're looking for lots of user feedback. So we just came out, we're like building more features, and we just want to hear like how you guys are using it, because we're a pretty small dev team. So we can't see all of the possible use cases. Like it's a very powerful tool. So we just want to hear from you. So join the BotKube Slack. You can reach out to me. My Twitter handle is there. And I just want to hear, because there's so many plugins to do, but we don't know which direction to go into without your feedback. So I want to hear from you. Anything. Memes as well.
like
Those are
that.
welcome.
I like that. This is how we roll at Kubefirst. We love user feedback and real feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I work for a Kubefirst project. So let me talk quickly about Kubefirst. What John shown you with pre-configure and production-ready cluster, you can do this at home too. You can go on kubefirst.io/download. It's working. You can create a new cluster in AWS, Civo, and also locally, mostly with Docker desktop and actually Docker and Key3D. And you can choose your own Git provider between GitHub and GitLab. So it's free, it's open source, you can try it at home. As Maria said, same thing for Kubefirst, always looking to get feedback about the product. As I said, the good, the bad, the ugly, constructive feedback. We listen to the community, and for real, because I know every company said that, but it is true. Ask the people in their community. And everything you've seen is pretty cool, but there is something coming with Kubefirst that should be in version 2.2. So we're going to release soon. I don't know if I can say that live, but I'm going to say it because, we're open source. It's there. We should release 2.1 next week. It's gonna give you an MVP of multi-cluster and like a new console application. So you're going to be able to do things within the UI. That's going to be a great release. But as I said, with 2.2, which is the version after, I don't have like a specific ATA, but teams are working hard to make this happen. We're going to have a Kubefirst marketplace. So name TBD may not be name marketplace. We don't want to have like confusion about the name because when you hear marketplace, it's like, okay, I'm going to need to buy stuff. See this more like as a GitOps catalog where we know it's not complicated right now to have an application respecting GitOps principle with Kubefirst, but we're going to make this even more easier. So it's going to be even more easier for you to add application to your clusters, but really while still respecting GitOps principles. So having your GitOps repo has the source of truth, but you're going to be able to do this with a beautiful UI with your mouse and clicking stuff and installing 10,000 applications if you want. Maybe not at the beginning because I don't think we're going to have 10,000 applications, but the benefit too, because we are an open source shop, you're going to be able to add your own application to the marketplace repository. And we're going to detail that. We're going to write some documentation about it. We're going to blog about it. We're going to record videos about it to help you understand how it's working. But the idea is that that's going to be really simple for developers or any shops that want to have either your own technology or just some like platform that you like or something that you would like to see in the marketplace yourself. As with anything else, we're going to be open to suggestions. So if you don't feel comfortable having a specific piece of tech in the marketplace, let us know. We're going to be more than happy to do it for you. And again, for the users, people creating a new cluster, I think that it's going to be an even better opportunity to try new technology that you may not have the time or maybe sometimes the skills to try. So it's going to be even easier to do that where create a new cluster with Kubefirst, use the marketplace to install the technology, or you want to demo to your boss, your manager, like how that cool new tech or that specific open source product or cloud native like platform will just make your life easier. You're going to be able to do this like this. And I say like this because that's going to be like this. So Kubefirst marketplace is coming. Again, name TBD, but it's in the pipeline and that's going to be there really, really soon. With that said, go on BotKube.io. You've seen how amazing that is. Talk to Maria, talk to the team. They're active on Twitter. They have their community. Just use it. It's nice. It's a really nice piece of tech, and that's just going to make your life easier. So use it. Go on BotKube.io. For Kubefirst, as I said, Kubefirst.io also, or github.com/Kubefirst/Kubefirst. Documentation is your best friend. Except John and I, but documentation is your second or third best friend. If there is anything not clear in the docs, please let us know, or even do a PR. And if you want to make new friends, because you never have enough friends, like just join our Slack community at kubefirst.io/Slack, and we're going to be always super happy to see new faces. And things with the Slack community is that you may say like, oh, I'm not going to join because I'm not using Kubefirst. I don't plan to use Kubefirst in production. But we also have like standard or more quote unquote generic channel about specific technology. We have some expertise when it comes to cloud native, when it comes to Kubernetes, and we're going to be more than happy to help you even if you don't use Kubefirst, because this is how nice we are. So just before I finish with that usual developer dad joke I call now, last stream, John asked me to find a kind of like waiting music. So I don't know if that one is good. So this is what I found. I think it's pretty good for the waiting music.
It was really nice.
It is nice. It's elevator music, kind of like top tier elevator music. So with that said, oh yeah, actually last stream I made a joke about NoSQL. So let me make a joke about SQL. So a SQL query goes into a bar, walks up to two table and asks, "Can I join you?" That is so bad. So
loved it.
Have a good rest of the day.
Somewhere a data engineer cried.
I know. I'm so sorry. Those are so bad, but I wanted to stop them at some point. But like John or Jared, like, oh, like did you prepare a joke? So now it needs to be part of it. And people from the community come after me. It's like that joke was so good, or like it was so bad that it was good. So now it's just part of the live stream now. We have to do those jokes. I need to say I'm not the one creating those. I'm just lazy. I'm going on Google and like I'm not that funny. I'm good at like delivering the joke, but like not creating the joke. But still, so yeah, that was a longer live stream, but still exciting live stream. Really great stuff with BotKube. Congrats to you and the team. And yeah, on that note, any one last word? Because hey, what is 1 or 2 more minutes to the live stream? Anyone one last word? John, maybe? No, not John. Sorry. No.
Anyone but John. Don't call me a now coach.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. I'm new to the BotKube team, so this is my first like live demo. So thank you so much for having me here. It went so great, and I'm glad I was able to showcase the product and most importantly, all of the hard work that all the devs have built. I'm just a mouthpiece for all of their hours, days, weeks of work. So I'm just glad it all got to be shown to the public.
Shown very well too.
Exactly. Sorry. Yeah, John spoke like faster than me, but I was going to say like you did a really good job. That was great. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for enduring us or being stuck with us for 1 hour. I don't think you're paid enough to be stuck with John and I, but it was a real pleasure. Hopefully we're going to have you back at some point on the show, but thanks everyone. And if you're watching the recording, you can still leave comments on YouTube. We're going to answer. If you have any question, you can do this on the video or ask Maria directly or in their Slack community or in our Slack community. We're always happy to help people working on nice stuff. So on that note, have a good rest of the day all.
Ciao.